Hey everyone, welcome back to Gender Decoded, your favorite space where science meets society and gendered realities are put under the microscope. I'm thrilled to have you here today. We've got something truly fascinating lined up, one of those topics that makes you stop and say, wait, what? So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's decode this together. Today's episode is about a very weird, very real paradox. What if I told you that smarter kids hit puberty earlier, but end up having 5 fewer children later in life? Yup, this episode is all about how intelligence seems to fast-track biological readiness, but also somehow delays or even discourages reproduction. We're diving into a new scientific paper titled Able but Unwilling, and it brings together some pretty big theories: system integrity, life history, and evolutionary novelty. We'll walk through the findings, how men and women differ, what the data tells us, and what it all means for the future of reproduction in a fast-evolving world.
Welcome to Gender Decoded, where numbers align, seeing the stories that data defines. Breaking the barriers, truth untold, insights in gender, the data falls.
So let's rewind and set the stage. For years, scientists have known that intelligence is linked to all sorts of positive traits: better health, longer lives, even more symmetrical faces. That's part of what's known as system integrity theory. The idea that intelligence is a sign your whole system, your body, is running smoothly. But here's the twist. Intelligent people, especially men, tend to have fewer children. That doesn't quite make sense from an evolutionary perspective. If you're biologically fit, shouldn't you be reproducing more, not less? That's where the researchers come in. Jose Young and Satoshi Kanazawa tackled this contradiction using 2 massive long-term datasets. One from the UK called the National Child Development Study, NCDS, and the other from the US called AdHealth. These datasets track people for decades, literally from birth to adulthood, and record everything from IQ, test scores, to puberty signs, to how many kids they eventually have. Here's what they looked at specifically. For puberty, they analyzed physical signs like breast and pubic hair development in girls, and voice change and hair growth in boys, all measured around age 16. For reproduction, they looked at the age when people had their first child, and how many children they had by their late 20s or early 30s. Intelligence was measured using comprehensive IQ tests in childhood, and they controlled for other factors like education, health, and nutrition. Let's talk about the patterns. First, puberty came earlier for kids with higher IQs. Girls with IQs over 125 got their first period around age 12.6, while those with IQs under 75 had it at around 13.2. The same applied to boys. Smarter boys developed secondary sex characteristics like pubic and facial hair earlier and showed deeper voices sooner. So, biologically speaking, their systems were more mature earlier. But here's the catch. Despite earlier biological readiness, smarter people delayed starting families. Girls with high IQs had their first child at nearly 28 compared to 21.5 for those with low IQs. For boys, the same. High IQ men became fathers closer to age 28.5, while lower IQ men were dads by 24. And when it came to the number of children, smarter people had fewer, sometimes less than half as many by age 29. That's wild. Earlier puberty, but slower or reduced reproduction. And this pattern wasn't limited to one country or generation. It held true across the UK and the US, across different racial groups, and despite controlling for health, BMI, and education. In the US AdHealth data, smarter women had fewer sexual partners before age 18, were less likely to be married or cohabiting by 22, and had fewer children by 29. Smart men showed similar patterns later: sexual debut, fewer partners, and significantly fewer kids. Now, here's where theory meets reality: life history. Theory tells us that some traits, like puberty timing, are obligate, they're hardwired, and less influenced by choice. But reproductive behaviors, like when or whether to have kids, are more flexible or facultative. And intelligence, according to evolutionary novelty theory, makes us more likely to deviate from the traditional playbook. Smarter people might delay reproduction to pursue education, careers, or self-development. They may prioritize quality over quantity in childbearing, or even choose not to have children at all. That's evolution operating in a modern world. It also raises some big questions about where we're headed as a society. Fertility rates are plummeting across the globe, especially in wealthier, more educated populations. Could intelligence itself be nudging us away from reproduction? Are smarter people simply opting out because they can and because they see other options? It's a little eerie when you think about it. We're biologically equipped, but behaviorally restrained. So, what did we learn today? We explored how higher intelligence is linked to earlier puberty, a sign of better physiological function. But we also saw that the same intelligence predicts later family formation and lower fertility. This was consistent across countries, genders, and generations. Women delayed childbirth more than men, but both genders showed the same overall arc. Smart kids grow up fast, but take their time, or sometimes opt out entirely when it comes to having kids. And that's a wrap for this episode of Gender Decoded. We've taken a journey from IQ tests to childbearing, from evolutionary logic to modern lifestyle choices. If you're now staring into the void, wondering about the fate of future generations, don't worry. You're not alone. We'll keep decoding. Until next time, take care, stay curious, and never stop questioning the data.